Welcome to We Are Old, Get Over It, the podcast where we celebrate the wisdom of age and maybe a little grumbling too. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. I'm in a new studio. I hope it's okay. You're going to start note. I get emails from people saying, what happened to the pictures on the back of your wall? They're not there because I'm sitting in a different office, okay, in a different studio. Today, we're going to be discussing another process that I've been going through for this season 3 of why we fall and how we can prevent it and what can happen to us. And I've covered a lot of different topics, including the medications that you take and Tai Chi. But I came across this other thing called Otago. And the spelling of it is how you pronounce it in American. It started in New Zealand. My guest today is Dr. Tiffany Shubert, and I'm going to let her discuss how I found her. But we're going to enter into the conversation, the comparison of Tai Chi to Otago as a form of fall prevention that you can do either in a group or on your own. So at this point, I'm going to introduce I'm just going to call you Dr. Tiffany. That's just call you Tiffany after that. Okay. And just give them a little bit of background on what your title is and what background is and how you ended up with something that I didn't even know about until I found it somewhere on the internet and I tracked you down. Go ahead.
Sure. No, thank you so much, Ken. It's
my pleasure.
I'm very excited about this conversation. So I'm a physical therapist by training, and I got interested in fall prevention actually during my PhD work. So I was a clinician for about 10 years, went back to school to pursue a PhD, and I was really interested in healthy aging and injury prevention. So this is like early 2000s, and we were really starting to see this cool trend of people living a really, really long time. And being a PT, I saw a lot of older adults and a lot of older adults aging very well. And I was really curious, like, what's kind of the secret sauce there? And as part of my PhD work, I stumbled across a couple of papers from New Zealand about the Otago exercise program. The first studies were actually done in the mid-90s. So 1995 was the first paper. And what they found was that when people did these exercises, they fell 35% less compared to those folks who did not. And I thought that was really interesting because it was really the first research done in that area. And then there was a subsequent paper where they went back 2 years later to check on the folks, and they still hadn't fallen. So I was really intrigued, started doing some more work in that area, started developing my own fall prevention programs. And then around 2010, 2011, the Centers for Disease Control actually started to recognize older adult falls, as a public health issue. And they were looking for proven programs that were available for older adults to participate. And they wanted to really make those programs accessible and available to people. And I was in the right place at the right time, knew a lot about the program. Full disclosure, I have never been to New Zealand. I emailed with the people that developed the program, but the CDC selected me and several other folks to really help disseminate these programs nationally. I've been working with the program in some way, shape, or form since about 2010. I was at UNC at that time, really helping develop some dissemination materials. So pretty much everything on the UNC website. And then I subsequently left UNC to go into industry. And you found me, though, through my posting on UNC. So
right.
Yes.
I remember that now. What happened is I somehow found your name with UNC and I called over there and they said, she's not here.
I think they said, who?
I said, no, I went on the internet. She's there. No, she's not here, but hold on. I have somebody I can put you in contact with that I think knows her.
Yeah.
And I said, is she still alive?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't really say that. But
Yeah.
I did track you down and you were very kind in calling me back. And you called and I was like in shock when you called me because I thought it was a dead end. And I hit a lot of dead ends in what I do, which is trying to organize these podcasts for seniors.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to say before we get into it a little bit is I want to read a quote. The greatest benefit of Otago is the restoration of the writing reflex. When it strengthens the legs, we give the brain the tools it needs to catch the body before a fall occurs. The fall is the major problem. That's the end of the quote. The fall is the major problem that seniors develop when they're older. We've had many, many professionals like yourself tell us that sometimes if you've fallen twice in a year, the odds are that the third time you fall, it's going to be bringing you to a fatal condition in the next year or so. So these are very important details for people to know. And that's why I wanted to go into this particular subject at the end of this series, because I think it's so important. How do people learn about Otago, and how do they benefit from it? And how do they get the experience of doing that exercise program? Because it is basically an exercise program, correct?
That is exactly what it is. And we actually have several what we call evidence-based fall prevention programs. And what that means is it's a program that's been tested in a randomized controlled trial and it's shown to be proven effective. And so Otago is one of the oldest ones, and it is purely exercise. Some of the other programs people might be familiar with, Matter of Balance, which is actually more a cognitive and behavioral change program. It talks about fear of falling and how to really manage what's a reasonable fear and what isn't a reasonable fear. And there's another program called Enhanced Fitness, but this is just pure exercises. There's 17 of them. They're very easy to do. You do not need to go to a gym. You don't need any special equipment. And the beautiful thing is only one of them is done in sitting. So that's kind of that's the secret sauce, because we don't typically fall out of chairs. We typically fall when we're standing. So in order to combat that, we need to be strengthening ourselves and practicing our balance and standing. And so that's one of the cool things about Otago.
But a chair is very important in your exercises, correct?
A chair is important because we use that when you first start doing balance exercises. It might be kind of intimidating and kind of scary. So you use that chair at first to maintain your balance while you're doing the different exercises. And then the beauty is you need to continue to challenge yourself. So if you're holding on with two hands and you're standing on one foot and you're able to do that for 30 seconds and it's easy, well, then we're going to have you only hold on to the chair with one hand. And then once you figure out how to do that, then we're only going to have you hold on to the chair with a finger. And then we're going to just hover. So that's why you need the chair, for that help, that just really helps you progress and to give you that challenge.
I understand.
Yeah.
So there's 17 things that you do. One of the things I noticed is you're trying to establish better muscle control, and you have you tell people to get weights for their ankles, correct? Explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So there is this thing that happens as we get older. It sounds terrible. It's called sarcopenia. It's just a normal process of aging. And basically, what happens is we start losing muscle mass much faster than we built it. And this can have some pretty significant impacts, because if you start losing the strength in your legs, it's harder to stand up. Now, the super cool thing is that no matter what age you are, you can continue to build your muscle. You can maintain, you can get stronger, you can build muscle, but you have to challenge yourself. And that's why we recommend the weights. There are 3 exercises that use weights. And if you start using the weights, you're giving yourself a bigger challenge, which means you're going to accelerate your ability to get stronger. It's very safe. There's tons of studies shown that older adults can use ankle weights. Older adults can power lift. Older adults can do anything that younger adults can do. It's just that you progress a little slower.
But you also are starting with a lighter weight. In other words, a 3-pound or a 5-pound. You're not starting with a heavy weight.
No. In fact,
Okay.
I actually have my patients start with an ankle cuff, a weight that that you put on your ankle, but I don't put any weight in it because I want them to get comfortable putting the cuff on their ankle and then doing 3 sets of 10. And then when that gets really easy, then I just put a half pound in. And then when that gets really easy, then I put another half pound. So it's a very slow progression, but it's always a progression. We never kind of just stop and not do any weights or maintain the weight, because you want to continue to challenge yourself.
Tiffany, you mentioned that there are 17 exercises that you do. And you have videos on YouTube that people can see
Yeah.
that will show them about those. And we're going to have that information available to them on our website and I will read the websites to them after I get them from you, and I'll just add them to the end of our podcast. The other question I had is the other thing that has a number to it is the reps. The
Mhm.
repetitions are basically 10, right?
Yes.
Is that how
Yeah.
it goes? So in other words, it's very simplistic for somebody like me. Okay, there are 17 things you have to do. You can put them on a board and look at them and say, okay, well, I have to stand on 1 foot or stand on 2 feet, or I have to raise my leg or whatever. And I have to do each one 10 times. Am I correct?
That is correct, but I'm going to actually put a small caveat in there because
Okay.
sometimes people hear 17 exercises and they go, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do that. So the other thing that we look at is total time. And the magic number is 30 minutes. If you can do strength and balance exercises for 30 minutes, 3 times a week, that is actually proven to be the optimal dose. And dose is a really important word here, just like you're having a dose of aspirin or a dose of any kind of medication.
Okay.
But that is the optimal dose to decrease your risk of experiencing a fall.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be 30 minutes all at once. So I have some folks that literally do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch, and 10 minutes in the evening. But 30 minutes is your magic number.
Oh, so what you're saying is that rather than trying to do like as if you were going to a gym and you're going to be there for half an hour and you have to work for that half
Mhm.
hour,
Yeah.
you can divide your exercises into basically four periods
Yep.
or 3 periods and do it that way.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really whatever works best. Everybody see, one of the things that we've kind of made a mistake with as a clinician, and as a researcher, is we're like, "This is just how you do it." That's not gonna work. Everybody's different, right? And everybody likes to exercise differently. So it's really figuring out, like, for you personally, what's gonna be the best. Like, I know for me personally, if I do not run in the morning, I will not get my exercise in. But for my daughter, she's not going to do any exercise before noon. So, and then, for my mom, she's going to just kind of weave it into her day. She doesn't want to have that dedicated exercise time. So we really don't get very prescriptive about that. We basically just say, what's going to work best for you? How is this going to work for you? And let's set you up for success.
Okay, Tiff, I have another question.
Sure.
Your mom, does she practice?
Yeah, well, she does Otago, and then she also does an online virtual exercise program twice a week. So, which is a
Okay.
high intensity strength training program. Yeah.
Okay, good. And your
Yeah.
daughter also?
Well, she's a dancer, so she does this
Oh,
stuff
so
all
she
the
does this
time.
stuff all the time. Okay.
She doesn't need
She
that.
doesn't need us.
Not yet.
Exactly. She doesn't need us. Let's talk about the free checkups that physicians are using for screening people, whether or
Mm,
not they should be doing these kind of things. And the critical role of strength and balance are really important. So can you address those issues a little bit? There's a test about
yeah.
your whether or not you should be concerned about falling.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So there's a couple of things that are happening depending on where you receive your health care.
Okay.
So there's what I call the worst case scenario, which is being asked if you've experienced a fall in the last 6 months. And this has kind of become the standard issue. But the problem is, if you get asked that question and you say yes, oftentimes there's not an intervention that happens after.
Hmm.
So, and I have a real problem with this because what happens is you go to the doctor, they say, "Hey, have you fallen in the last 6 months?" You say yes, and they go, "Oh." And sometimes they put a yellow bracelet on you, and that's it. Okay. And so, as opposed to if you got your blood pressure taken, and if your blood pressure was 140 over 100, everything would stop. There would be a huge intervention that would happen, and this would be really important. And by not really doing anything, people are getting the message there's nothing you can do. So yes. So it's good that people are finally being asked the question, but there's got to be some kind of intervention that happens after because if you have experienced a fall, you're already at risk of another fall. So we need to do something about that. So that's one thing. Now, some other offices are doing a little bit more comprehensive. So they're having you do something called a timed up and go, which is where you stand up, you walk, you turn around, you sit back down. And based on your time and performance, that can tell you, oh, mobility wise, maybe you need to go work with a physical therapist, or maybe we need to do a little more strength training. So it's starting to happen. But the most important thing for your listeners is there needs to be a follow up. It can't just be you're at risk, oh, well, it is, you're at risk. I need you to go see a physical therapist, or you're at risk. I need you to kind of, so there has to be kind of an intervention that happens.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right. So, strength is the foundation and balance in your safety net. And what you're doing with this program is building that in a very gradual process over a course of time. Is this something that they should be doing for their entire lives? In other words, 2 or 3 times a week doing these exercises as best they can?
Yeah, yeah. So as we get older, so a lot of the risk factors for falls, they don't go away. And, a fall is not an episode of care. If you have a fall and you go work with a PT, you get stronger. But if you end, when you end with the PT, you're just going to get weaker
Mhm.
again. So no, it really is a lifestyle change. And the cool thing is that if you make this change, not only do you decrease your risk of having a fall and you improve your mobility and you enhance your well-being, but if you do experience a fall, you're far less likely to experience any injuries. So, I mean, it's the juice is so worth the squeeze on this one. So, yeah, it is a lifestyle change. But the other thing that we know is when you get stronger, when you maintain your muscle mass, when you practice your balance, it also helps with your cognitive function. So, there's a lot of big benefits here.
Okay. Now, most falls happen at home. The environmental aspects of your home have a huge impact on whether or not you're gonna fall.
Mhm.
What are the safety aids that you should be using in your house? And what are the things you should not be wearing in your house or doing in your house?
This is always a really, really sticky territory. So I am a huge fan of motion sensor lights that are low. So at night you can have a pathway be lit. There's these are the technology on these is crazy now. You can get these super cheap at Home Depot. You can literally like stick them on your wall. And when you walk by, they'll light up so you can see your path. Because that's usually the big one. People get up in the middle of the night, if you turn on the light, it's too bright, you can't see, so you don't turn on your light, and then you trip over, something was left in the hallway, or you just don't have good sense of where you are. So that is lighting. Is there is one thing you can do, like that is the most important thing. And then the second thing is whatever your pathways are, and I'm not saying move furniture, but whatever your pathways are, just make sure they're clear. I had a lady just the other day who just put her purse down on a major pathway. She didn't ever do that before, and she tripped right on over it.
Mhm.
So being smart that way is just really, really important. And then the final piece is just, making sure your shoes fit. You're not wearing, a lot of the newer shoes have these really high soles and people get off balance. So I mean just being really practical with what you are doing and with what makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and some of the other things are, for example, if you have rugs down, you have to be careful you don't trip on the rugs,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
And that's a common problem. Also, if you wear slippers in your house and they're flip-flop type slippers, they could get caught and the same thing. So you have to think about these. And of course, you want to have grab bars and other things around so
Sure.
that you can help to protect you from a fall.
Yes, 100%. And what we recommend with row rugs is that, you can tape them down
Mhm.
and they work. It works beautifully. So there's a lot of things that can be done. And there's a lot of really great resources and communities too around making your home such that you can age in place safely and the way you want to.
And the other thing is you have to make sure that when you're going up and down stairs, you're very careful.
Yeah. And again, the lighting, super
That's a
important.
great point, the lighting, by the way.
Yeah, it can honestly, it is one of the most effective things you can do. And then the other thing also is just being aware depending on your glasses. Like we have this issue with bifocals, if you're looking through the bifocal as you're going downstairs, you don't really see the edge. So just being very, very aware of those things and how to navigate that.
Okay. So, one of the things that is compared to what you do is Tai Chi. How are they different?
No, great question. So Tai Chi's been around for thousands of years. It is a beautiful sequence of movements that you go through. It usually takes about 45 minutes. And Tai Chi is fantastic for balance because it's very slow and you're constantly shifting your weight. But it's not for everybody and it can be a little intimidating. And just like taking a Tai Chi class can is it's just for some people it's great, but for others it could be too challenging, the movements might be too much. This exercise program, the Otago exercise program, was developed specifically for more frail older adults. And I use that term very, very carefully. It's just for folks who might be brand new to exercising, who need to kind of build up their endurance or who just may not enjoy Tai Chi because not everybody enjoys Tai Chi. So these are like more of your traditional exercises, things that you might work with a physical therapist on. Whereas like with Tai Chi, it really is more of a movement. Whereas this is, okay, you're going to stand on one leg. Okay, you're going to work on, bringing your leg out to the side and back. And now we're going to work on heel toe walking. So very different, but very similar outcomes.
Yeah, I kind of look at Tai Chi as a form of dance.
Yes, that's a really nice way of thinking about it.
And
Yeah.
there's a number of, I don't know what the numbers, I guess it depends on which Tai Chi you do,
Mhm.
but there were like 27
Yeah.
different movements that you have within that are in the flow, what I would call the flow.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, it's like slow motion karate, basically,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. And you have to go through the motions, and everybody else is going through the motions. And if you screw up, it's like, well, where am I now? It's like a dance when you didn't learn the steps of the dance and you're in the ballet and you're the one that's out of step.
Yep.
So I think
Exactly.
some people find it very rewarding to be in a group like that.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is a way for people to get that same kind of exercise and strength, but you can do it with just one other person, or you can do it all by yourself and just have somebody on YouTube say, hey, I mean, somebody like Tiffany
Absolutely.
say, this is how you do it now. Now make your 10 reps and let's go on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And the reason why they all work, and this is why any fall prevention program works, is it's done in standing, there's minimal upper extremity assistance, and you continue to challenge. Like those are the three things that we know.
Say that slowly again,
Sure, sure, sure.
please.
Yeah, so it has to be done in standing. We there's absolutely no sitting program that ultimately results in fewer falls. So the majority of the exercises are done in standing. The majority of the exercises are done without upper extremity assistance. And it doesn't mean that means you can start with upper extremity assistance, but you're really trying to minimize the help so you can really practice standing on your feet. And then the final piece is you're continually challenging yourself.
Which
So,
is adding a little bit more weight to strengthen your legs. You don't
yeah,
have to worry about strengthening your arms, but
yeah,
you do things with your neck, correct?
yeah,
Weren't
yeah. We
there
do a
some
lot of
thing explain there because I remember watching, I mean, I actually did research on this, remember?
awesome.
But people do neck show me what you do with your neck,
Yeah. So the warm up exercises are posture exercises.
okay?
And the big one is called a chin tuck. And literally, you're gliding your head back on your neck and you're stretching this area here because a lot of us get this forward head posture going and we get the wrong input into our inner ears. So we do a lot of getting your head aligned on your spine. You do the same thing in Tai Chi because that's where your head is supposed to be. And that's where you're going to get the best input. And then there's a back extension, and again, it's really just trying to get the body upright and as straight as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other thoughts you wanna give us at this point? Any last thoughts about what you do and how you do it and where the people can find out about Otago? And
Sure.
I think that the best thing to do is slowly mention where your YouTube videos are so that we can get people to go there, because this
Sure.
will be on YouTube also, and they can go right from here, hopefully, right
Oh, fun.
to Dr. Tiffany.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. I love it. Yeah, well, I mean, I think the most important thing and is that everyone is empowered to manage their own fall risk. I think the medical world has actually over medicalized falls. And so there's kind of this, well, whatever, the MD says or whatever the PT says, but actually you have to manage your risk every day. And I'm sure with the other interviews you've done, like polypharmacy, medications, it's up to you as the individual to go, maybe this medication that was just prescribed is making me feel this way. Maybe I need to go back to the doctor. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So I just really
Exactly.
want people to feel very empowered and also that this is something you can manage. You absolutely, there's healthcare providers, I mean, PTs, physical therapists, and occupational therapists. We have a ton of expertise in this area and we can be your guides. But ultimately, it is up to the individual to say, I'm going to do the Otago exercise program 3 times a week, or I'm going to do Tai Chi, or whatever it is.
Right.
So I think that's just really, really, really important. The folks that are doing that, those are the ones that are really living the lives that they want to lead.
If you fall, it's going to stop you from living the life you want to lead.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And definitely you don't want to be in that situation of, well, I don't want to do that because I might fall, because that ultimately ends up increasing your risk because typically when that starts happening, you start limiting your activity and then you start getting weaker. So those are just, things to think about. And if it all feels super overwhelming, all you need to do is every day after you brush your teeth, stand at your bathroom counter and practice standing on one leg, holding on with both hands, and do that on both sides for 30 seconds. That's all you need to do to start. And you'll see that, oh, you're getting stronger, you're getting better. And, that's kind of a nice way to start down the path.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip. I
Yeah, I
thank
try
you
to
for
make it
that.
like slide it in. Yeah. Yeah. And then the second part of that tip is every time you get up from a chair, don't use your hands.
Right.
That makes an incredible
Really? Well,
yeah.
those are all good tips.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
So
give us the information
yeah.
to get to your YouTube videos.
Yeah. So back in 2019, we realized that, we had these videos at UNC that were of the actual exercises and how to do each exercise. But people are kind of used to like watching a video that leads them through all the exercises. So we created 4 videos. They're called Otago based fall prevention exercises. They're on YouTube, they're totally free. They're each about 30 minutes and they'll lead you through the warm ups and the exercises. And they actually do get progressively more challenging. So the first video isn't quite as challenging as the fourth video. That's not saying a whole bunch, but it's just they do tend to progress just a little bit. And so those are available and we'll have the links in the podcast, but you can actually just also look up YouTube Otago exercises, fall prevention, and they'll pop up. And the organization that I worked with was called Give Fit, and so that's the other way to
I'm
kind of
sorry,
find it.
say that name again.
Yeah, it was called Give Fit. Give as in GIVE. I'm giving you fitness. Give
Mhm.
Fit.
Okay. And those are
Yeah.
available also on YouTube.
Yeah. So all those, yeah, there's 4 videos. I lead you through and yeah, they're just, again, just trying to fill that need of how do you get started?
Well, that's great. I really appreciate you
Yeah,
taking the time and catching up with me
thank
to
you.
discuss the news. How did it end up starting in New Zealand, by the way?
Well, I use these 2 researchers, and New Zealand has a very small population and doesn't have has a robust healthcare system. But they were looking at we've got to figure out ways to keep people on their feet. And New Zealand and Australia both are forerunners actually in physical therapy. And so they just started looking at interventions that they could create that people could do in the home, in the community.
Great.
Yeah,
I'm gonna end with a quote, if that's okay.
sure.
This is by Carol Welch. It's called Prevention as Medicine. Movement is a medicine for creating change in a person's physical, emotional, and mental states. So it's important for all of us to make sure that we're doing exercises of some kind, whether it be walking, whether it be doing Tai Chi, whether it be doing Otago, anything to help yourself physically. Because if you help yourself physically, you're going to help yourself mentally. And I want to thank you, Dr. Schubert, for spending the time and for letting me find you. You're a great guest, and everybody else for listening. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week, okay? And smile and make somebody laugh tomorrow. Better. Make somebody laugh today.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. And that concludes this episode of We Are Old, Get Over It. Thanks for joining me. I hope you found our conversation both insightful and entertaining. Remember, age is a journey, not a destination. So embrace the wrinkles, the forgetfulness, and the occasional tech frustrations with a good dose of get over it attitude. Until next time, keep laughing, keep learning, and keep getting over it. Ken out.
This podcast features a variety of perspectives. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are solely their own and do not constitute an endorsement by this program. Unless otherwise stated, this podcast does not endorse the products and services of our guests, but shares them for informational purposes only.